third game, another TVP. Here we have Hulk versus SOS, Autosis.
That's right. This is going to be a really nice match. SOS, very creative Protoss.
And the three Colossus untouched, and without an answer towards them. I don't think Paul has an answer towards the overall army that SOS has.
He certainly does not. No Ghosts, no Vikings, GG, and SOS takes the first game.
Oh, this is maybe a flank if you could get to the back of the Colossus, maybe.
He definitely is going for the flank. Oh, the first piece does engage. The second piece comes down and actually snipes a lot of High Templars, but this army so strong from SOS.
Yeah, so strong with a lot of units left over, and plummets in supply down to 75. GG is called, and SOS will make it into the semi-finals of the global finals here at BlizzCon.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the man ranked number 12 in the WCS rankings. That makes him officially the dark horse of the tournament to the stage. Wounded Stars, SOS! And like SOS, our next opponent has also taken out great names in the game. The road to the semi-finals looks like this for StarTale Bomber.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are moments away from our first round of 16 matchup.
Head-to-head now, MMA against Bomber.
He is the oldest, the most experienced player.
Okay, so two Banshees now, gunning down workers very quickly. Notices that Banshee in the upper left is going to get back. Meanwhile, a push down here. Quick GG there.
Bomber lost his Raven in that attack.
Yeah.
He lost all his SCVs, he had no detection. Alright, well Bomber now needs to not let nerves get to him coming into this second series.
Pulling at the command center now. Command center getting low, half health, 1/3 health, and it's gone.
And MMA says, alright, you've got me, I've got one last push in me, but look, Bomber's ready, he's got so many Marines. And he says, you know what?
That's gonna be it. GG.
Well, that's a beautiful position for Bomber, really beautiful, but there is the drops on the same side on the other. They need to do a lot of damage down here.
Bomber promptly exit out of that game. Then Bomber come back 2 and 3, now sitting at 2-1.
I don't know if it's going to be too effective because I don't know if he's going to have the minerals to make more Marines and bunkers, and that's going to be it. MMA took a gamble and it paid off. He brought it to game number 5. The question is, can he win there?
Bomber crushes this attack. MMA put everything into this with no command center, it's nothing.
GG.
Bomber goes into the quarterfinals here, Tasteless.
He did a fantastic job, and Bomber definitely every reason to be confident.
All right, Kev, here we go. After denying that hatchery, what a great push from the StarTale Terran.
Control by Bomber was so sick. He outborrowed his mind like 3, 4, 5 times. Bomber with some sick execution there in the counter aggression there.
Oh my God, GG Bomber! He was dead. His economy had been ravaged. Sophie was everywhere, and just like that, Bomber marches across the map with more than 80 Marines. Here comes Sophie.
Oh, sick focus fire on those Banelings immediately out of those bunkers. Still a lot of roaches and Banelings.
Oh man, everything hinges on this. Banelings waddle forward and do kill.
I would give the edge to Bomber. I would hope so. It would be really dumb to work again, I feel.
Banelings are not responding to it. A drop in the back of the natural. Bombers everywhere. Good game. StarTale Bomber has just defeated Sophie with a score of 3-1.
Once again, give a big round of applause to Bomber, the confident Terran here at BlizzCon 2013.
Ladies and gentlemen, ranked number 8 in the world and the WCS Season 2 champion, StarTale Bomber! Your commentary team for this fantastic semi-final, please make some noise for Bitterdam!
Thank you so much, Paul, and welcome to the desk. I am Mr. Bitter, joined as always by Roti, and we are getting ready to hop into our first semi-final of the day. BlizzCon has been amazing so far, and Kevin, these next 4 players promised not to disappoint.
Definitely not. I'm super stoked for our upcoming semi-final. Bomber versus SOS. I think it's going to be a great PvT series. Seen a couple of really good PvT games already this tournament as well. Yesterday with Deer versus Tasia. Deer doing a couple of crazy builds, and I wonder if we might see something remotely similar from SOS. But I must say, Ben, above all, I agreed so much with what the guys said at the analyst desk. That's of course why they are the analysts. But I think they broke it down so well. They really described SOS's playstyle, perfectly. There's no better way to describe it than he is indeed a player that loves to open up with storms, which can definitely be very good against Bomber, who's a player that likes to pull SCVs.
I was a little surprised at how many people selected Bomber to win this series with that in mind, because it does seem on paper that SOS's style does do well against the style that we know Bomber for. Here are the vetoes. Bomber immediately X's out Whirlwind. SOS is going to remove Polar Knight. No surprise there in either of those two vetoes.
Polar Knight is a pretty tough map for Protoss. Certainly when it gets up to 3 bases, also a map where just defending 2 bases can be pretty hard as well. Figuring out what's going to be our first map, which is going to be Yangzhou. That's an interesting map.
Yeah, Yangzhou is not, I would say it's not a map that we often see as a first pick. A lot of these players have it as one of their least played maps in the entire tournament, but it is going to be coming out first here. Akalon Waste, one of the most common maps in the map pool, will be the second pick. No surprise there. We've seen some of the most standard and frankly some of the most epic games of the entire WCS on that map.
I do think it's so cool that SOS has made it so far already. Like, I think if you would have had this tournament with this lineup 4, 5, 6 months ago, I think a lot of people would have predicted SOS to go very far. Because back then, he was the cornerstone of Woojing Stars together with Sorky, but both of them were performing so extremely well in Pro League. And whether you were living in Europe or Korea or USA, you had to stay up very late to watch these guys play. But if you made a lot of long nights and you watched SOS play, then you would have seen that he was an absolutely fantastic Protoss player, and obviously still is. But he indeed perhaps lost his cutting edge a little bit, had to kind of fine-tune his style, as he does have a very unique style. It's just SOS plays like SOS, and other people look at SOS, and that's pretty much what it is. He doesn't look at other players and tries to do what they do. He has his own thing, but I do think that he fine-tuned his style a lot more. And he's been looking pretty good so far this tournament, and that's exactly what I expected from him.
Yeah, it was a bold prediction when you said you thought he would make it all the way to the finals and win BlizzCon. Now here he is in the semifinals up against our Season 2 WCS champion Startail Bomber. Both of these players have looked dominant in the games they've played so far.
And with Bomber, I think to fall back to what you earlier mentioned as well, but I think why a lot of people still think Bomber is going to win this series, despite that SOS's playstyle might be good on paper against what Bomber likes to do, it is mostly because Bomber is just one of those players where if he's on a roll, he's just almost unstoppable. He just rolls across the map and he wins. He pulls SCVs. No matter how he does it, if he has a small window of opportunity, he just wins. And that's kind of like the feeling that we had in Season 2 when Bomber was just absolutely, no one was going to be able to stop him. And even in the finals, he won 4-0 back then. If this guy is on the tier, Ben, it's hard to stop him.
I think it's almost funny that it's mentioned here that he often struggles from inconsistency. He's looked anything but inconsistent so far at BlizzCon. The games that Bomber has won have been so one-sided.
Yeah, but it's, of course I agree with you, but it's still just a weekend. Like, after all, he won WCS Season 2 Global Finals, and everyone was like, oh my god, Bomber, how long is he going to stay on top? Well, the next season I think he lost in the round of 32 already. And of course WCS Korea is so extremely hard, and it's very tough to be consistent. I mean, Bomber has his ups and downs, but his ups are very, very, very high.
His ups are possibly best in the world highs. Of course, SOS is no stranger to that level of play. He's going to be a difficult opponent here. We're just going to take a quick look at his win rates. His versus Terran matchup is not his best, but still with a near 60% win rate, it's very respectable.
Yep, that's above all because he was one of the first players to really rely on Zealots and Archons for such a long time, and especially against Zerg, he just almost never makes Colossus, but even against Terran, it's most of the time Zealots, Archons. He had a couple of crazy timing pushes with +2 armor, Guardian Shield. It was so hard for Marines to pick up the Zealots. Was doing really well with it, but then people started figuring it out, making a couple of cool sim cities and be like, hey, if you are going to try to win on 2 bases, I'm just going to make sure I won't die on 2 bases. So I guess he's been struggling a little lately, but I think he's an absolutely amazing player. I had so much fun watching SOS play a lot of games in Pro League. He was nothing but amazing, and I also know that a lot of the top foreign Protoss players always get their inspiration off SOS, perhaps even more of SOS than a player like Parting, for instance.
The single detail about SOS that has struck me most this weekend is the incredible calm and poise that he seems to bring into the booth. This man he shows no emotion in his gameplay. He's he's stoic, I guess is the only way I know to describe him.
And the sickest thing as well, while we're taking a look at Jiangsu, that's our first map, of course, the two-player map, is when SOS was playing against Hero earlier this tournament. He was up 2-0, and then the third map, things were not really going his way. He was down at like 15 to 20 supply, and he just lost the base, and he just left.
Yeah.
And he didn't care at all. It was really like he was just saying like, you know, I'll win the next one.
Playing from behind is an inconvenience. Let's go ahead and hop into game number 4 so I can just end this series.
And that's really how it felt, and that's exactly what he did. He looked very solid, and you know, we were not able to watch all the games against Polpom. What I did see is just, I love this guy, man. I think he's an amazing Protoss player, one of my favorites for sure.
Certainly appears to be very confident this weekend, and that is showing in his gameplay and in his games. Our players are ready to go on Jiangsu. The countdown has just begun. Day 2 of BlizzCon is about to happen, Kev.
There's no better feeling than entering a series ban or a semi-final in such a big tournament like this on the biggest stage, and you just don't really know which way it's going to go. You know, on paper you might say SOS, but still Bomber is the favorite for the majority of the people. I'm super excited, and you know, I'm just ready for some good StarCraft.
As we're hopping into game, I want to remind, or I guess announce to everyone watching online that if you would like to watch the first-person point-of-view streams from either of these players, you can go check it out on the Esports Plus stream. You can see the first-person view for Bomber and SOS.
That's so sick, actually. If I wouldn't have 2 monitors at home, then I'd get one immediately, because there's no better way to learn StarCraft than watching these players play first-person.
Absolutely, Kev. Spawning in the top right-hand corner of Jiangsu, the red Terran player, Startails Bomber. And his opponent in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, the blue Protoss player from the Wounded Stars, SOS.
What I also really like is what our analysts were talking about, that Bomber Ben is a player that's not afraid to switch it up. Yes, he has those ruthless timings attacks where he just goes and wins the game, pulls SOVs, but he's also not afraid to do a couple of things a little different, make an extra Rex here and there, just run a bunch of Stim Marines across the map. This guy is almost capable of anything, so SOS is going to have to scout very, very thorough throughout the entire series. Because if Bomber sees a window of opportunity to attack, he is going to attack, he's going to go all out, and he's just going to go in with the mindset, I either win right now or I die.
Either win right now or we move on to the next map or I'll try it again.
Also known as YOLO.
Oh man, that's the sudden realization that Johan Merlo did not choose Bomber, the YOLO Terran. Doesn't feel right. Gas openings for both of these players, probably going to be a Reaper for Bomber. Something that we've seen a lot from him this weekend already.
Yeah, I'm expecting a Reaper into a command center. Anything else would already be a little bit surprising. Of course, quick factory builds are not necessarily bad. They can be good, but it's also something that you have to deal damage to it. And SOS is not a super greedy Protoss early on, I feel. Of course, you know, he's going to try to cut a few corners here and there, but he's not the Protoss player that goes up to 3 bases or like barely has any idea of what's going on and whatnot. So I think Bomber shouldn't try to go too crazy and just a Reaper into a fast expand. Makes a lot of sense.
Pretty meticulous building placement already from SOS. That pylon that we were just looking at the top of his base is going to be able to spot Reapers as they hop up and down, if that is in fact what happens. It just gives him that much more early warning to the incoming Reaper, allowing him to try to shut it down as quickly as possible. Looking like we're going to see pretty fast. Oh, Bomber already getting cheeky. Starts the engineering bay in the natural expansion of SOS, and that's just going to slow down his expansion ever so slightly. Fortunate for SOS, he does have that Zealot building. Yep,
and he's actually not even continuing building the engineering bay, which I'm surprised by a little bit. Of course, the probe was there harassing the SUV, but I still felt he could have done some additional HP down. Oh, the SUV! And look at the probe. The probe's like, I'm fast. Not fast enough.
Not today, little probe. Here comes that Reaper as SOS and Bomber both plant their expansions. Bomber notably puts his command center on the low ground, so feeling confident that he has no reason to worry.
Close eye and see if SOS is going to produce a Stalker or not, because if he loses out this Stalker and Bomber is careless with his first bunker, he might be in a little bit of early trouble already, because there's a Zealot as well. 3 Rex opening there for Bomber. Bomber is playing this pretty damn safe, man. Most of the time just like a second Rex would be enough. Then you see a tech lab and they start researching either Steam or Combat Shield, and then eventually, you know, they try to get the Medivacs out as soon as possible. What Bomber is going to do here, he's going to have a lot of units early on, which, you know, can be for defensive purposes, but SOS not really a player that you have to worry about like some crazy 3-gate aggression or whatnot. Maybe in the later stage of the game, like the early mid-game, when maybe there's charge or a +2 or a +1 armor. But
whoa! Proxy Stargate going down for SOS. That's not something that well, should we be surprised that that SOS is known to mix it up? But I would not have expected that here on Yansu.
Oh, and also the way that it went so far, like he went into a fast spin, everything looks so natural, so normal, and then suddenly there's a proxy target on the other side of the map.
This Reaper,
oh my God.
Unbelievable star sense from Bomber. As long as this Reaper doesn't change course, he's going to spot it. There it is.
That's very, very good news for Bomber. As you can see, 3 Marines are being produced at a time, 4 even, because he has 1 reactor as well. Almost forgot about it. Starts researching Stim as well. Combat Shield can be better to defend like certain gateway attacks, but Stim is definitely better to pick off Stargate units.
The Reaper even running right past the probe will turn around and get rid of him. So this is just excellent early game scouting from Bomber, spotting SOS's intentions and what will he do about it. There is an Oracle on the way. We see 4 Marines being produced at a time. Stim's on the way.
And this is obviously a very good start for Bomber, but I don't think it's man overboard yet for SOS. These amazing proto players, they keep surprising me whenever I feel like, oh, this is a really big commitment, and they just kind of transition out of it while barely losing anything, just getting that Oracle there. Because that Oracle does, of course, pose a threat that Bomber has to worry about. SOS not the player to just sacrifice his Oracle. Well, he gets a free kill there on the Reaper, which is very nice.
Yep, nice catch there, SOS getting that Reaper out of there. Here's that first Oracle that we were talking about. There's already a lot of Marines waiting. You gotta be careful, SOS. You've taken way too much damage, and down goes the Oracle. First blood. Well, it was technically the Reaper, but we're gonna call it that Oracle kill. Great play there from Bomber. That's a huge advantage to the Terran player early on Yonsu.
That's the complete opposite of what I just said 10 seconds ago. I did not think that SOS would ever like sacrifice that Oracle. Obviously he didn't meant to. He got very unlucky there with the way he rallied it, but also a little careless. Perhaps getting a little nervous after all.
Marine's going to continue to give chase here on these Stalkers. Does not want to have to deal with the early Stalker pressure. Good micro from SOS and great micro from Bomber.
Sides, yeah. Very nice the way that he pulled back that 1 Marine, messing up the movement from the Stalks a little bit, taking some additional damage. Charge already being researched, +1 armor as well. 4 additional gates going down, because SOS is a little worried now, Ben. He's also dropping the Templar Archives, but, you know, proxying a Stargate, opening up an Oracle, and not dealing damage is kind of bad, but as long as you have that Oracle around, you can maybe drop a Revelation, you can at least still be like, hey, you're going to have to keep a few units at home, but doing absolutely nothing with it, that basically gives Bomber a free pass, like, hey, I might be able to do something as soon as Stim and maybe Combat Shield.
I mean, how confident does that have to make Bomber feel? It might even bait him to pull those SCVs. Crazy.
Oh my God, double Templar Archives? No way. That's a massive mistake. It's such an expensive building already. SOS is a little shaky, Ben.
Yeah, perhaps some of the nerves showing through. Here comes that first push from Bomber. There's not a single medevac out on the map, but man, there's a lot of Marines and Marauders. 26 Marines out against only 2 Stalkers, 4 Zealots, and a couple of Sentries. Oh, this is going to be very dicey for SOS.
Yeah, he's going to have to drop some couple of good force fields and definitely needs photon overcharge as well. He still did not cancel the Templar Archives. That's why he has so few units. This is a big investment. This is a really big mistake. Perhaps in the long run, you know, he can lose one of them to a drop and he will still have the other one. But he's going to have to be careful. He's going to need a photon overcharge, that's for sure. We can see it going down immediately.
Oh, Bomber's going to stim right in, and he's not backing off. He wants to do some damage, and he's going to focus on the Nexus. Nexus down below half health. All the shields are gone. Bomber's going to continue to focus, and the Nexus will fall.
A couple of these Marines are still alive as well. Archon trying to get in range. That's a great wiping by SOS. Trapping those Marines. Losing the Nexus hurts a lot, but it wasn't for free though. That Bomber sacrificed a lot of units over there.
Yes, sir, and SOS does walk away from that with an army supply lead. 27 army supply to 14. So Bomber has got to be a little bit careful. We do see him throwing down 3 bunkers immediately, realizing that he has overextended just ever so slightly, and now he's going to have to prepare for the counterattack. It does not, however, look like SOS is going to commit to that counterattack. Look at how badly his income has been damaged as a result of that. Bomber doubling the income.
And above all, the 3rd orbital is about to finish up as well. It's already, the command center already finished up, and he's morphing it into an orbital now. So Bomber's economy is just going to be absolutely ridiculous, and SOS is definitely going to fight an uphill battle for a little while. Maybe this Oracle can even things up slightly, because I'm not sure if Bomber has any missile turrets in the middle line. I don't think he has. Well, that's completely exposed, so maybe this Oracle can get some work done. 5, 6, 7 SCV kills would be nice, but still. I still think it was worth it for Bomber though. Yes, he lost a lot of Marines over there, but a Nexus is a Nexus. And in this phase of the game, that's very important.
Yeah, 4 SCVs now killed thus far. SOS may get a couple
that's
more.
very nice micro so far by SOS, man. Picking up 6, 7 SCVs, and the Oracle is still alive.
Oh, and it will get away with just 6 hit points, 6 total kills on that Oracle. So some economic damage dealt there to Bomber, but obviously he is still in a fine position with 3 orbitals, 54 SCVs, and plenty of room to spare.
Third base going down now for SOS. That's definitely a little ballsy. He does have 1-1 upgrades. I think Bomber is just on 1-0. We can see 2-1 is on the way for him. SOS also researching +2 armor immediately. So he's going to have these chartles, he's going to have the Archons that he loves so much, and of course he's going to be able to drop some storms as well. But if Bomber's army is just way bigger, he can definitely eat a couple of those storms and still micro his way out of it. And I'm afraid that's probably what's going to happen. Bomber is just going to attack when his army supply is like 30 to 35 supply more than the one of SOS.
Well, that moment is basically coming up. It's 50 army supply to 65 army supply, and Bomber is moving out on the map. The one thing everyone's waiting to see is whether or not those SCVs are going to get pulled. It doesn't look like now's the time. A little bit of Zealot harass up at that third base. Of course, Bomber has no
armies
trouble
might clash in the middle of the map. There is an Archon, a couple of Zealots over here, High Templar trying to get a storm
done, and Bomber's got to be very careful of that. 133 Terran supply to 120.
4 medevacs heading into the main base. SOS does not have a single observer out on the map. That pilot might spot it though. It's close. I guess not enough vision.
So far, SOS appears to have no idea.
That probe! What a hero probe!
Tries to be the hero, but his army's so far out of position. Kev's got to come all the way up through the natural. There is a single High Templar here, but the medevacs are going to unload right on top of him. Storm goes down on 3 Marines. And a cannon trying to save the day, but Photon overcharge. Reinforcing Zealots trying to come back. Nexus is taking, oh my god, it's going to go down. Nexus will fall, and once again, Bomber snipes off an SOS expansion.
And he gets all 4 medevacs out. That's the most important thing. He barely lost anything there. Small Marine hit squad in the natural did a little bit of damage. The third base is taking some fire as ball. Bomber just has way more units because he was able to kill the Nexus early on. He's keeping those medevacs on the left side of the map as well. As soon as SOS is going to send his forces to the right side to defend, Bomber is going to...
Oh, here comes Bomber into the third base. Eats a big storm. He's not going to be able to stem with that army. As a result, that means he's not going to really be able to do much damage here. Nice defense here from SOS. Picks off both medevacs.
First-person view here by Bomber.
Still, in the main base, Bomber just refuses to relent. He's probably going to cancel this Nexus once again. SOS will try to strike back in the third base of Bomber. He's got a couple of Zealots there that are doing some good damage.
That's very nice, actually. I don't think Bomber is taking care of that, as Bomber is just dropping all over the place, so he's definitely looking on this side of the map. One more storm will land on most of these Marines. SOS is doing a fantastic job with the little units that he has. Some are even up and these 2 Zealots.
These Zealots have just ravaged the third base. 16 workers in total have died. Bomber's starting to maybe overextend a little bit. Maybe he's a little too spread out. And SOS, in spite of all the damage that he's taken, is beginning to... Man, the storms have just been excellent, and Bomber is not microing out of them at all. Still, SOS is behind 110 supply to about 140.
A couple of Zealots being wiped in. Photon overcharge going down immediately once more. Will secure the main base for SOS for now. He's still down a little bit in economy, obviously, but these 2 Zealots, man, they definitely did some work on the top side of the map.
Oh, they really did, Kev. It's 48 probes to 49 SCVs on the income tab.
Bomber's production is just so much better than one of SOS, though. SOS has never really had a moment of peace where he was able to macro up, get everything in order, get his upgrades going, get his army in the correct position, get a couple of observers here and there. He is just chasing behind Bomber. Bomber is completely dictating the pace of this game, and his army is way out of control right now because he's just been whining way... Oh, that's unlucky as well. Mr. sniping the Oracle. Pretty big deal.
More storms going down for SOS as Bomber's coming forward with an attempt at a game-ending push. Great storms, but SOS taps out. Good game. Startail Bomber takes game number 1, and man, as scrappy as SOS looks, Bomber just looked better there. It all kind of started with that first Nexus snipe, though, and I think it's safe to say that it's hard to beat Bomber when you're behind.
I think it even goes back before that, Ben. First of all, the first Oracle flying into Marines like that, I don't know how SOS cannot pay attention to his Oracle, because that's the most important thing that will go on in that phase of the game. I'm sure that he expected the Marines to send in the mineral line, but Bomber already was ahead of the fact that he's probably going to try to do something more natural and transfer those Marines, and he just parked those Marines below the Oracle. That's a big mistake for SOS. Then the second big mistake was the second Templar Archives. If you open up this style, where you're going to go with an upgrade, where you're going to research charge and storm, you have very few units, so every single resource that you have is extremely important. Making a second Templar Archives while opening up with a proxy Stargate that didn't work, then you're so far behind already, and it's an uphill battle that's very hard to fight.
Game 2 is going to be happening on Akalon Wastes. Our players appear to be just about ready, so we'll be firing this one up momentarily. Right now, Bomber leads 1-0 in this best-of-5 series, SOS, of course, is going to want to bounce back on Echelon, because going down 0-2 against Bomber is not a good position to be in.
No, because then Bomber can just go full crazy mode and do whatever the hell he wants to win either game number 3, 4, or 5. Even though I don't think there's a man overboard yet, I don't think SOS has to feel about this game like, wow, I played my absolute best and I just got crushed. I think it's safe to say that it was the absolute opposite. Obviously, he might feel some frustration here and there, like, wow, I can play so much better than this. But that's also something that's easy to accept than, wow, I just got really outplayed. Because I think SOS defeated himself much more than that Bomber defeated SOS.
Game 2 is live on Echelon Waste, Kev. Our two players looking both very focused. SOS still not showing much emotion. Bomber looking very intense.
Bomber always looks intense. The Bomber looks so cool.
And here we go, spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Echelon Waste, leading 1-0. The Red Terran player, Startails Bomber. And his opponent in the top left-hand corner of the map, the Blue Protoss player, currently trailing 0-1, SOS. Great crowd here at BlizzCon. It's been a fantastic event. Crowd loves to cheer when people say crowd, so thanks for that, guys.
You find the new magic word, Ben?
Maybe I have. Oh, man. Bomber leading 1-0, Kev. What is he going to do here on Echelon Waste? I think he's probably going to keep it pretty standard. Rack's going down already. He went with the Reaper opening last time. I don't know why he would feel the need to change it up.
Yeah, I think just more of the same. It's a solid opening. I am curious to see if it's going to be 2 or 3 Rexes once more. And if it's just a 3-Rex opening and it's not the way that, or like the game won't play out the same way as it did last time, what he's going to do with it, if he's going to try to hit some sort of an unorthodox timing with just a bunch of Marines and Stim, which can work against these kind of, you know, SOS's build is not necessarily greedy, but he does have very, very few units because, you know, he's investing into a later stage of the game where he wants to have charge and he slightly be ahead in upgrades and a couple of Archons here and there, which are all expensive units and hard to get off just 1 or 2 bases.
Now, I think it's safe to say that SOS looked a little bit rocky in the beginning of Game 1. Near the end of Game 1, it looked like he'd buttoned it up, was starting to play as fast as we know he can and respond as quickly as we know he can and just deal with what Bomber was throwing at him. Unfortunately, he was a bit too far behind and had to tap out there.
Yeah, I was actually impressed with how he was hanging in there in a certain phase of the game, man, because I was just like, okay, this is the moment where, you know, there's one side of the map where he just barely doesn't have enough units and he's going to lose so many probes, but he was actually doing a pretty damn good job, and in a certain moment they were only, you know, it was only a 15 supply difference or something between Bomber and SOS's supply, and I was like, wow, SOS, how are you doing this? You're just killing units left and right without losing too many probes. But yeah, I mean, Bomber was on an almost untouched 3-base economy other than that 1 Zealot, or those 2 Zealots slicing up a few SCVs. So Bomber just had a massive production, and reinforcements keep making their way across the map, and it was just an unfair fight for SOS. But I must say I was pretty damn impressed with the way that he was handling the first initial drops, because he had so few units to work with. He definitely put him in the right place.
Pretty fast Nexus coming out of SOS, dropping it before a single Stalker or Zealot or even Mothership Core, which means that this Reaper is going to be able to get a pretty strong uncontested scout if he wants to. He's going to just back off after seeing the Nexus, though. Live to scout another day.
Like, let's see if I can find another one of those proxy Stargates, because that's what really grew to me last time.
Yeah, seriously. Command center's down on the low ground for Bomber. Just the one more barracks going up this time?
Yeah, that's a little more standard, and that's like the, you know, the most convenient way and safe way, or not necessarily the most safe way, but just the most standard way to play TVP. So I think we're going to see a very straight up Bomber here. He's just going to try to get medevacts out ASAP and then try to find an opening in SOS's defenses, which is possible with the style that SOS plays, because he is kind of neglecting the Robo for quite a while. I find it extremely difficult to defend against drops without a Robo. And once more, Ben, we see a Stargate going down. Surprising openings over here by SOS, because I kind of just thought he would just go straight into Twilight. Doing the Stargate once or twice, you know, that's not a well, but 2 times on the road, that's a little bit surprising.
I think, and I'm not sure what to make of that. I'm guessing we'll see another Oracle.
Maybe one Oracle and then later maybe 2 or 3 Phoenixes just to chase down a couple of drops here and there. Bomber is playing with fire, by the way. The fact that he didn't have a bunker over here yet. He's so lucky that the Mothership Core is not here, or a second Stalker, which he was actually not aware of at all. And SOS is like, man, I know I should have chrono boosted out my second Stalker and just run across the map and try to win. That would be very good for me.
Marines are going to chase this Stalker, but with good micro, SOS should be able to kite for days. Bunker will start immediately, and Well, SOS is just going to back off. There's that Oracle we were talking about.
Yeah, because he doesn't have the mothership core with him, he doesn't have high ground vision, so he can't stick around. If he would have the mothership core there and he would have another Stalker, he could indeed just kite those 4 or 5 Marines to death pretty easily. Of course, Bomber would eventually stabilize, but it would definitely be a big nuisance to deal with.
Bomber already splitting units up, knows that he needs to be safe against the possibility of this Oracle, even if he hasn't necessarily scouted it. Reaper will be sacrificed into the natural, and he's just not going to see much, Kev. A couple of Stalkers, a couple of probes. Bomber's still pretty much in the dark.
Might see his scan go down soon, but so far Bomber has a pretty damn good idea, I think, what he's playing against, because he's keeping so many units in the main base. I never really had SOS in my mind as a player that, like, you have to think of Stargate all the time. He's definitely capable of opening with a Stargate and then transitioning into the style that we know him for and we know that he loves, which is, of course, the charge lots, the Archons, and good upgrades. Missile turret already going down in the front as well, just in case he has to do, you know, a little bit against Stargates in the front, or maybe a Dark Templar rush.
Yeah, he's just he's covering all his bases. He doesn't want to spin that scan, I guess. Oracle will go ahead and float into the main.
That was so odd, but there are plenty of Marines over here, so.
Oh, this is one very unlucky Marine. He's going to get picked off immediately. But for now, Oracle unable to do any damage to the economy of Bomber. It's going to have to float away. It'll continue to search for new openings, but...
And that's still not that good. I definitely think that SOS hope to do a little bit more. But above all, keeping this Oracle alive is so important because it poses a threat to Bomber that he has to worry about all the time. He has to throw down additional turrets. And above all, you know, later on you can really use it in so many useful ways as well. Revelation is an excellent way of dealing with some drops and staying alive in the most difficult phase of the game where you just don't really know where the drops are coming from because you don't have many observers out on the map.
This time he does find an SCV, but that's probably all he's going to get, as Bomber does still have Marines in good places. Extra barracks going down for Bomber. His first medevacs should be on the way shortly here, Kev. As we just take a quick glance at the economies of these two players, and we can see that it's 47 probes to 39 SCVs.
SOS has definitely been chrono boosting out probes quite a bit, because this is quite a healthy and reasonable lead. Templar Archives is about to finish up. He's going to research Storm almost immediately, most likely. He's going to hallucinate the Phoenix over here as well. You can see, well, he wants to be extremely careful with the Oracle. So it's much better to just send in hallucinated units and dance around with your real Oracle all the time, and if he flies it into something it shouldn't be, that could be a really big loss.
What has been this Oracle just hasn't gotten anything done. It's killed a couple of Marines and a single SCV.
The fact that it's there is still not bad. Like, so far, as I said multiple times already, like, it forces Bomber to worry about it. Bomber is going to have to worry about it all the time. And above all, as soon as Bomber wants to start moving out, Revelation can go down. And matter of fact, actually a couple of Marines stimmed to the middle of the map and picked off the Oracle once more. Now this is a massive pickoff for Bomber, and now SOS is making it very hard on himself once again.
He's now lost all of his vision. He can continue to hallucinate Phoenixes and check with those, but for all intents and purposes...
Sick play by Bomber though, just having a couple of Marines on the rep, and as soon as Stim finished up, he just stimmed forward and was able to pick up that Oracle. Now 48 army supplies moving out against 36. This is a difficult phase in the game for SOS to survive. He is playing without a robotics facility. He has no vision on any of the airspace. I have no idea how he's going to defend against all the drops.
Going to have to be excellent use of Storm. Actually, SOS is going to walk down his ramp to meet Bomber. Here he sees the army, and of course he'll immediately turn back around. Does not want to contend with this Bioforce. In open space, a good first Storm, a good second Storm from SOS. That's going to push Bomber back for now. But with Medevacs overhead, all he has to do is heal up and be content to know that there's only a single Storm left behind this.
Additional Nexus going down for SOS, and we just saw him dropping the robotics facility as well. Those were indeed pretty juicy storms, but I wouldn't have minded to maybe see like a double feedback on two of those manufacts, so it makes it a lot harder for Bomber to drop from that point on, or even just heal up that army.
Zealot count is pretty high right now for SOS. He's got 12 Zealots out with charge.
Still needs to put an overcharge to deal with his army though, or maybe a couple of excellent force fields. Guardian shields will go down. He will zone out a couple of these bio units.
But he's not going to get any kills, as the positioning of Bomber's army is too good for these Zealots to engage. There's a good Storm all over the Marines. And a second good Storm is going to pick up a couple of Marine kills. SOS is hanging in there, but Bomber relentless with these pokes. Marines and Marauders just dancing forward, doing as much damage as they can before backing off. Oh, another good Storm. Third base is completed for SOS.
But one High Templar did get picked off, and it had a lot of energy, so this is still going to be a little rough for SOS, but he does, of course, have Photon Overcharge if he really needs it, or maybe a Time Warp. That's another great Storm landing on top of many of those Marines.
Yeah, SOS has been storming brilliantly in both games 1 and 2.
I'm a bit surprised that they're so even, like supply-wise, that Bomber just has a small advantage. I don't feel that Bomber has been throwing away too many units. And SOS, despite that Stargate opening, one more High Templar gets picked up over here. That's a good play by Bomber. Those are really important pickups.
Archon might also go down, drops very low.
Close.
And it's all about the Zealots and the Templar right now. SOS knowing that he needs to land good storms. He knows he can't afford to lose any more High Templar.
Bomber is doing a fantastic job microing this so far. This is insane. He's going to try to snipe out additional High Templars. Doesn't really get one, though.
A couple of whiff storms this time, and Bomber's position improving ever so slightly. He's going to continue trying to find openings. Hasn't tried dropping yet.
There are 10 medevacs out on the map right now, so there is so much healing normally in this army, even though we can see most of those medevacs are extremely low on energy. But still, a couple of storms are not going to be good enough. He needs to land storms to actually finish off the Marines, because just damaging them against 10 medevacs, that's not going to cut it.
Here comes Bomber's third base. There's a Zealot there trying to delay that inevitability, but
first drop going out as well, Ben, on the right top side of the map. This could be an extremely important. The first observers are in production. He does have High Templar there with a lot of energy. A couple of feedback probably not that good, as they won't have that much energy. SOS knows he's going to storm all 4 medevacs.
And Bomber is going to boost into the main base. He's going to drop right on top of warping in Zealots. Also pushing into the third base is Bomber. A good storm from SOS. He immediately pulls his probes, and this drop has been beautifully dealt with. Bomber trying to micro and make the most of it, but his army in the third base has been cleaned up. This drop in the main is sticking around for a little while longer, though. Probes starting to fall now. Photon Overcharge being forced.
I felt Photon Overcharge was a little late to this party. He lost a lot of additional probes that he really didn't have to lose, and a couple of those Zealots were not able to finish off the units, which they would have been if they actually had Photon Overcharge assisting them. Now we can see that this drop will get cleaned up eventually, but not before. It definitely paid for itself.
Yeah, grand total of 12 probes dying. SOS now out on the maps, found some medevacs in transit.
What about the Nexus? It's running pretty damn low on HP.
But one Marauder is not going to be enough to take it down. Bomber might come back for a second visit, though, Kev. Colossus transition is on the way for SOS. Thermalance and the first of his Colossi are in production.
I must say I'm starting to like the upgrades for Bomber. It's going to be 2-2 against 0-2 soon. Of course, the +2 armor is nice for SOS, but a couple of attack upgrades would be nice as well. Then again, he will have Storm and Colossus at the same time, just to fight against pure bio army. So upgrades are not the most important thing in the world for him, at least the attacking upgrades. As long as he has units to just survive and defend those Colossus and is able to land a couple of storms, he should be in pretty damn good shape.
This Zealot harass is not going to do too much damage. Bomber is just in position to deal with it this time. And his drop, making its way around the top half of the map, is a huge one. There's a lot of Zealots in the main base, but that Nexus is so low, Kev, that
I don't know. I don't think Bomber should go for this, because there's not much else going on the map, so it's not very likely that this drop is going to deal a crazy amount of damage. There are a couple of High Templars there. There's Photon Overcharge as well. He is scanning, so he's even going to give it away. Yep. Oh, it's so smart to put those 2 medevacs in front, because I think he was hoping that he would feedback them, and those are the empty medevacs. That's a sick play by Bomber.
Oh, but there will be feedbacks in the third base where Bomber has decided to unload. No medevacs falling. A Colossus, a little bit too exposed, is going to take a lot of damage, but does not fall. Good control from SOS, and Bomber's got no choice but to evacuate at the same time. Pushing into the natural Stalkers, and Colossi are in position, though, and Bomber cannot find an opening.
Time is ticking, man. Now the additional starport is going down. +1 air weapons being researched as well. This is the point in the game where Bomber said, all right, I'm not going to win this game with just Marines and Marauders, no matter how good my drop control is, as I'm going to try to drop once more. And he's able to pick off a few probes. Wow, that's a great storm.
Beautiful defense. Everything goes down. Archon picks up the final shot on the medevac, and Bomber will back off completely. 185 Terran supply against 160 Protoss supply. Harvesters 66 to 55, so the income honestly is pretty even at this point in the game. Also even good storm, and great feedbacks on the medevacs. Bomber is going to be forced to turn around once again. Oh man, that is a lot of Marines, Kevin, and they are going to press forward.
Colossus, he can't really run into this army. Those Colossus are not going to die. There are barely any Vikings. Additional High Templars coming in as well. That was so good for SOS. He killed so many of those medevacs.
Oh man, and the Marines are going to continue to be roasted. Archons and Colossi just ripping through the army of Bomber.
But Bomber picked off 2 High Templars there with an insane amount of energy. That was very good. I'm not sure if SOS has any additional High Templars. Yes, he has a couple of defensive ones. Don't have as much Storm as the ones that he just lost, though. But still, this is going to be a very, very tough hold for Bomber.
Oh, he's behind in supply. Army supply is 113 to 110. Bomber may have 3-3 when they fight, and that could be invaluable. But how is he ever going to deal with the Colossi? There are only 4 Vikings out on the map. Scans to kill the Observer, but that's not going to happen. A good blink, and a couple of those Vikings do go down. Bomber stems and pushes forward. And SOS says, no, I'm not going to fight unless we're going to show good feedback again from that High Templar.
Man, SOS has played a fantastic game number 2 over here. Perhaps once more a little sloppy in the start, but the moment he started defending, it was perfect. Storms are going to land all over
storms
these Marines.
all over the bio. SOS pushing Bomber all the way back into the third base. More storms go down. And Bomber's in a lot of trouble. Here's the SCV pull, but it's not going to matter. SOS is just destroying the army of Bomber. The last of his troops will go down. Good game. SOS ties it up at 1 each.
Wow, what a fantastic ending to game number 2. SOS dancing his army multiple times, and Bomber dropping the man of news as well, saying like, all right, I see what you did there. What a great game by SOS, man. I think it was once more. I don't understand that how these Protoss players are able to defend the drops so well while having barely any observers, and even he lost his Oracle early on. How they do it is beyond me. Of course, photon overcharge helps out a lot, but it is so hard to do it, to split up your units properly every single time, but SOS did it, man.
That's pretty ridiculous. SOS just knew when he was going to be dropped, and he had units in the right places, and took a little bit of damage here and there, but mostly just dealt with it, and he did so in convincing fashion. Very nice play from SOS there on Akalon Waste. We're going to move on to Derelict Watcher. You know, at the start of the pre-show, Day 9 was like, you know, this is what I think is going to happen. Bomber's going to win game 1, and then SOS is going to take games 2 and 3 before Bomber closes it out 3-2. Maps 4 and 5. So far, Day 9's been spot on in his prediction.
Yeah, it was a very wise prediction. He's like, I don't even know what game number 1 is going to be or which map, but this is how it's going to go. It was a pretty picture to paint, and so far so good.
I think Derelict Watcher will be a much harder map though for SOS. Bomber with the openness is going to be able to engage much more freely.
And certainly because Bomber is a player as well that likes to stick on Marines and Marauders for quite a while, and SOS is working with so few units, and there's a lot of surface area in the main base where you can still drop even when Photon Overcharge is active. You can just dance outside of the range of Photon Overcharge because the main base is so big. So SOS is going to have to do things a little different. One more thing I really love from SOS though, Ben, is that he wasn't really too worried about those attack upgrades. Of course attack upgrades are awesome, but he's just like, hey, if you refuse to make either Ghosts or Vikings, I'm just going to stick on Colossus and High Templars, and as long as I have armor upgrades and my army survives, I am going to completely crush your army. That was great game sense by SOS.
Yep, very nice reactive play from SOS as we move on to game number 3. Derelict Watcher is the map, and spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, the WCS Season 2 champion, the Red Terran player, StarTales Bomber. Bomber's opponent just look oh so convincing on Akalon Waste. He's the blue Protoss player in the top right-hand corner of the map from Woongjin Stars, SOS. A lot of people here watching the WCS Global Finals, semifinal number 1. Of course, coming up after this, Jaedong versus Maru. A lot of people in the house very excited for Jaedong.
Couldn't blame them, man. I get a little excited for Jaedong.
I cannot begin to explain what my body does when Jaedong plays StarCraft 2.
I am super curious to see how this game will play out. As you mentioned as well, Derelict, a much harder map to defend 3 bases than Akalon. There is so much area just between these 2 bases, and even like the turret has quite a bit of surface area where a Bomber could start dropping. So I really wonder if SOS is going to do something different. And is he going to go with the Stargate opening once more? Because those Oracles, Ben, have not really been paying for themselves. In game number 1, it was just, you know, it was horrible. They did absolutely nothing. Game number 2, he was able to keep it around a little longer, but he still lost it in the face of the game where he would not want to lose that Oracle. And I'm just blown away, because when you watch these guys play and we have full vision, so we can see the drops incoming, and then we see like, oh, the Protoss player has some units here and there. But if you are SOS and you have as little vision as he had, it is so extremely hard to always have units in the right place and always do the right thing. I'm just blown away by the game sense of these guys.
Yeah, great game sense, great positional play out of both players. I love how SOS has cannons around the periphery of his base, just giving him that extra layer of drop defense.
Yeah, it's super important, certainly when you just don't have that many units yet. He always has a couple of Zealots standing there as well, which I think is very cool. Because when the units get dropped one by one, if the drop is not very big, those Zealots can kind of kill those units one by one before it goes out of control.
Reaper expand once more for Bomber. SOS once more proxy Stargate. Seriously, 3 games in a row?
So it seems, man.
This is just quickly becoming his standard in this matchup, at least for this semifinal.
It's so funny because I really don't feel that it's done so much for him in the first 2 games. Perhaps he's just waiting for that single game, man, where the Oracle flies in and kills 14 SCVs, and he's like, haha, all worth it.
I mean, both games have been close in spite of the fact that the Oracle never did any real damage, so I guess there's not a big reason for him to stop. Reaper's going to spot this probe, and
it's annoying for SOS, because SOS would have loved to just drop that Nexus immediately. Losing this probe early on is going to delay his expand a little bit, and also, I mean, this is one free kill for the Reaper. The Reaper normally doesn't get a kill in PvT.
Bonus damage, Kev. He's going to skirt out, and what are the odds of him scouting that Stargate? I think it's quite low.
I think they're pretty high, actually, because Bomber just rallies this Reaper all around the map. Now Derelict is kind of a hard map to scout everything, because it's such a big map. It's an insane... I think he's going to check for it. Bomber... Or he's going to go back to the natural.
He would have hopped up the cliff if he was going to the third base.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's still going to roll into the third base after this.
The Nexus, and... No, not today. Looks like he's going to go check that Zelnaga tower first. So far, Bomber's opening continues to be consistent. He's getting that first tech lab down. He's on 3 racks again, Kev.
That's pretty good to deal with these early Oracles. He's going to have plenty of Marines, both in the main and in the natural. This Oracle is pretty quick, though, this time. It's actually very quick. There are only 6 Marines out on the map. A couple of them are out of position. The Oracle, if it flies into the main, it will be able to do a little bit of damage. The Reaper is going to see it, though, and the Oracle is going to see the Marines.
It's a great spot by the Reaper, but the Oracle is going to be pretty uncontested in this main base. Here comes the lasers, and SCVs do get roasted. 2 down, it looks like, for now. And this poor Reaper also going to get blasted a little bit.
The Reaper is definitely a trooper. He's taking one for the team. The Oracle taking quite a bit of damage. Sick micro there, though, by SOS. Stunning stepping with the Oracle. That's pretty damn hard to do.
Bomber's also done a great job of keeping his SCVs alive, pulling them at just the right moment, and really minimizing the damage that he took there. Lost 2 SCVs.
Yeah, a little bit of mining time loss. At least his Oracle has been more successful than in the previous games already, so I think SOS is feeling pretty good about it. It's a double Forge opening as well, as shown to you guys by Funkadelic. Of course, big shout out to our French observer. Is it Funka or is it Infraser?
It's Funka, Kev.
I knew it. Funka's ahead of it.
I'm of the opinion now that Funka's the best observer in the world. He has surpassed Adebisi in observing greatness.
Double Forge is interesting, though, because that means that we are going to see a different style from SOS, man. Maybe he's going to stay on 2 bases a little longer, because he's like, you know what, it's going to be very hard for me to defend 3 bases in the way that I did on Eklan, or even take it at a remotely similar time as I did before. Oh man, if he's going to pull the Marines out of position with this fake Oracle and then fly into the natural line and pick up some SVs, that would be a sick play.
Here comes that fake Oracle. There are units in both positions, though, so Bomber should not... Oh, he is going to react, but at the same time... Oh, man. No, he is going to get a couple of SCV kills. Cute plays here from SOS. Little things to make big differences. 3 more SCVs go down.
I just have the biggest smile on my face, Nagavan, because those are the small things that make this game so beautiful. And this is 5 kills already, and the Oracle is still alive, so Revelation can be casted later on as well. That's a lot of buy units over here, though, for Bomber. Of course, 3 racks allow him to produce quite a few units. There are sentries, though, so with Force Shields, Guardian Shield, and Photon Overcharge, SOS should be fine. SOS should definitely not be thinking about a third base, but considering the fact that he went double Forge, I don't think he's thinking about taking a third base anytime soon.
A very good hallucinated Oracle scout there, spots this army, so SOS knows not to be down his ramp. He's going to just back up and be in position for those defensive force fields and for that Photon Overcharge. This poor Reaper.
Man, he's been such a trooper, absorbing damage for his friends and stuff, then he gets sacrificed like this.
Bomber just trying to bait one more force field. He will, and actually he's going to get a lot of units caught as a result of that. There's the Photon Overcharge going down.
Marines trying to pick up the Mothership Core, but that won't happen. Photon Overcharge will pick up these, well, a few of these Marines, not all of them. A lot of additional gates going down for SOS, though, so he's just waiting to transfer those gates, and then he will have a lot of units. Force is going to have to go down, but this is going to be tricky either way.
Bomber getting a little bit crazy here, stemming up the ramp. The sentries are all out of energy, and now Bomber's getting up into the main base.
Without force fields, without sentries now, is there Photon Overcharge in the main? I don't think there is.
Time Warp has to be casted. The probes are going to try to do some fighting of their own, but this is going to be a costly defense for SOS. Bomber somehow finding just the most opportune opening imaginable. Finally, these units are going to get surrounded, but not before a lot of probes fall. In total, 11 Harvesters killed by Bomber with that little attack.
Well, the supply count is very one-sided, 74 against 41, but SOS did just invest a lot in his production as he threw down so many gateways.
Oh my god, the army of SOS is 1 Zealot and 1 Sentry, Kev. Not only killing a bunch of probes, but also just basically completely dismembering the army of SOS.
And if you ask yourself why, we can just take another look at the production tab, because those are a couple of very expensive upgrades. +2 attack, +2 armor, charge, and Templar archives going down. SOS is playing this in a very greedy way, so even though the supply count is heavily in favor of Bomber, it's a little deceiving. Losing the Mothership Core, however, I think is a really big loss. That's something that he didn't want to replace in this phase of the game. He is reproducing it now, but that's still 100 gas that he would have loved to spend on High Templars or Archons. And also, he's not going to have Photon Overcharge. Man, this is going to get a little #dicey.
This is scary already. 18 Marines, 8 Marauders. No medevacs on the map for Bomber. He is going to start producing his first 2 now. His 3rd command center is finishing up as well, and a Ghost Academy. Something that we haven't seen from Bomber all tournament, Kev.
I like it. I think it's a good phase or a good moment to start with. This is going to be a tough defense for SOS, man, because charge rolls are amazing, but +2 and +2 attack and +2 armor is not ready yet. 1 Archon is pretty cool to absorb some damage, but SOS needs more units, and he needs them now.
Bomber looks like he just wants to deny a 3rd base as he checks to see if one's there, sees nothing, and backs off.
Finds the target. He's like,
so that's where the culprit came from, says Bomber.
I kind of wonder what happened to the Oracle. I guess the moment that SOS was defending, he also sent in the Oracle to pick off some additional SUVs. But
Bomber's got to be feeling so comfortable right now. The upgrades are excellent for SOS, though. First drop, making its way across the map right now, is going to fly over a canceled pylon.
It's a great scout, though.
Yeah.
25 mineral scout.
A 2-2 Protoss against just 1-0 Terran. Bomber's cut his upgrades pretty substantially this time.
But he is getting ghosts, and that is extremely important. If he's able to land EMPs and maybe to deny. I love how SOS is doing this as well. He's just like, go ahead, try to drop me. And Bomber is like, I'm not falling for that. Good feedback, does a little bit of damage on the medevac.
High-level play from both these guys. Bomber refusing to commit to a dangerous situation. SOS refusing to allow a dangerous situation to unfold. This probe is like a ninja, hiding pylons everywhere. Look at this Marine.
Hey, you never saw it coming, man.
This guy needs to be fired.
Talking about sleeping on the job, eh?
What? What a lazy Marine. No, either way. Bomber still with a strong presence in the center of the map. I think SOS's position, can we say that it's improving? His upgrades are great. This tech that he added is starting to... This pylon's still unscouted somehow.
He is dropping cannons now, Ben. 4 of them, which makes me really wonder. Is he going to actually move out and rely on those cannons to defend at home, or what is he so worried about? I guess he is thinking that he didn't play against 3 base, but I think he just scouted the 3rd base on the left bottom side of the map. So SOS knows what he's playing against. 1 Zealot already on a rampage with 5 kills.
Yep, Angry Zealot slices up some SCVs. Will be dealt with, but not before he chops them.
Army's going to clash in the middle of the map. There are ghosts over here, though.
EMPs are not going to go down at all. Where are the EMPs? Bomber's microing his army pretty well, but not using the ghost. Finally, he lands an EMP in the middle of those Zealots, but the Archon's doing so much damage, and SOS actually pushes Bomber back here.
SOS still on 46 probes, man. With all those defensive cannons, I'm starting to feel that SOS is going to try to win this game on 2 bases. He's just going to produce units from this point on. Both ghosts are going to fall immediately.
Oh,
Actually, he saved one of them. That's so
beautiful
sick.
pickup there from Bomber. That's 2 ghosts in that medevac, Kev, not just 1. And another skirmish unfolding here. Zealots pushing the Bio Army back further. Bomber needs to fall back to his reinforcements, who are all very low from being overstemmed. The Protoss army looks nigh unstoppable. Here's the SCV pool.
SCVs are pretty scary in the middle of the map, man.
That's a lot of SCVs too, Kev. I would say very nearly all of them. SOS, this is not what I signed up for. These Archons are so scared as the SCVs will chase. Oh no, it's a massacre! As SOS turns around.
SOS has a lot of defensive cannons, though. He has a Zealot run by as well. This is very annoying for Bomber to deal with. What is Bomber going to do, Ben? He has so many SUVs in the middle of the map. There is a 3rd base, but he can still cancel it if he really wants to.
Storm is finishing up. Ghost dropped on the High Templar, but they did not land the EMPs. Zealots charging forward. Bomber's being so careful. SOS wants to choose the perfect fight.
Oh, 7 seconds or something to Storm. It's so close, but these Zealots and Archons.
Great spread of units. Storm finishes up though, and that's going to shut down Bomber. Good game. SOS. Somehow, someway.
SOS is such a beast, man. Getting all those upgrades of a single Zealot and Sentry and losing everything early on. It's just like, let me still just go ahead and research +2 attack, +2 armor, charge, and Storm at the same time against someone that opened up with 3 Rexes and is obviously going to work with those bio units. That's a crazy call to make, but SOS, he did it.
I thought he was so dead after that first push up into the main base. killing probes and Army alike. Let's go ahead and pass it over to our experts to hear their thoughts on that game in this series.
Thank you, sir. SOS has the 2-1 game lead here in semifinal number 1 for the 2013 WCS Global Finals. And I can't wait to hear from you guys. A lot of banter up here between these folks. Yeah, a lot, wasn't there, Sean, about what was happening, what was going to happen. Even some friendly bets as well.
You know,
how did it go?
I want to throw out that before the series began, there was a prediction that was tossed out, a bold one, a poor one, but one that's incidentally turning out correct.
Yeah, well done, Todd.
So you see, Bomber wins game 1, SOS wins games 2 and 3, but Bomber's going to be closing it out in games 4 and 5 to pull it back 3-2.
And you're going to stick with that?
Of course.
Well, you've got to
I've
now.
looked good
You've
3
got
games
to.
in a row, so you know we got to keep drilling forward.
Apollo, based off of the things that we discussed during the pre-show and based off of the things that you guys said about SOS and Bomber, a 2-1 score, is this what you expected?
No.
Well,
Okay, back to Todd.
yeah, okay, I didn't realize we were interviewing Koreans up here. Apollo, let me try this one more time. Can I get a little bit more than a no?
I really thought that Bomber, I don't think that Bombers really looked at SOS in the way that I think he should have coming into this game. I think that he should have looked at him knowing exactly how he played against Port. Maybe he didn't have the opportunity to see how he played against Port, because he seems to be playing just a very generic Terran versus Protoss style, but I think if he concentrated on how SOS was approaching a playing Terran, I think it would have been a different start to the series.
I feel like Game 2 is the perfect example of Bomber doing things a little bit off. We see the SOS is sort of pulled back. He's doing a lot of tricky moves, you know, like going for the Oracle, but then he's kind of forced to play defensively with the Zealot Storm into third style. We see Bomber delaying his own third, trying to be super aggressive with no Ghosts, no Vikings. It's kind of weird. He didn't set himself up for a transition in that second game at all. And once SOS stabilized, it was a pretty straightforward game. And I think that Bomber is trying to end games too much in the mid game. Same thing happened in game 3. Got the Ghost really fast, try to end it right then and there. I mean, SOS was dead. Just expand and let your economy pull you ahead late game.
I think we are witnessing Bomber taking SOS into account, though. I feel like what he went into the series saying, as we're seeing it play out so far, is you like Oracles? Okay, I'm going to go in with a beefy pre-medevac stim timing and try to snipe off that Nexus. And I'll tell you what, it did work one time, but in the 2 games where it didn't work, we saw what had to have been near perfect defense from SOS. Like, he's like, all right, I got 3 Zealots, 2 Sentries. What are we looking at? Oh, it's like 100 frickin' Marines and 5 Marauders? I'm probably dead. You know, but he was able to dig it out a couple of times with Photon Overcharge, delaying force fields. That was really key. The decision to go up the ramp from Bomber on the game number 3 was a little bit tough, because the probe pole was able to actually close out with barely anything else behind that. I think almost if he would have backed away from the ramp and just kept massing up like we saw on Akalon Waste, that could have been a strong strategy there as well. But I think he is playing this out because this is what he thinks is the counter.
And Todd, I think we're going to take a look at a few moments of, I assume, game 3.
Yeah, I mean, I want to talk a little bit about this series first. SOS, he played the way I predicted he was going to play, with the opening Storm. He wanted to get Colossus later on. In this game, it was just going really bad for him. I mean, there was the attack over here that Bomber ended up doing a lot of damage in. He killed a lot of probes. In the words of Apollo, greedy Protosses, you deserve to die if you play so greedy.
He's been doing a lot of hating
Double Forge.
A lot of hating.
And
I didn't say that.
You said something similar. And SOS, I mean, after losing a lot of the probes early on, he lost 12 probes early on. He was quite far behind. I mean, he's falling behind on supply now. He knows his opponents as a third. So he starts proxying pylons, at least this one. He has this one over there, with which I think he can warp down and send some Zealots. He spots the third base. And at this point, I really thought he was going to go all in with all these gateway units. And without Storm. There was a lot of talks about whether or not we were going to see Storm. Now he throws down 3 cannons. That really confused me. I thought he might go and try and take a third. Hope that Bomber attacks.
What do you think the cannons are for,
though?
By the way,
I didn't get that. Because he's up against Ghosts, and he doesn't have detection.
But he scouts the third. I mean, isn't that just kind of forfeiting the game, even if it is like...
I think, okay, I was going to explain that. I think he wants to defend, basically, against this army over here. And then in the meantime, send in a bunch of Zealots into the natural and third base to do the work. And I mean, if that happens, it's a dream scenario. The entire army of Bomber is going to be across the map. So at this point...
But he instantly cancels, I guess, is the weird part for me, is what I say, you know?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, SOS is moving out. Bomber, he finds himself caught in the middle of the map. The MPs are not good. And he's going to lose a lot of his army here. With just 1-1 versus 2-2, this double forge is paying off. The greed of SOS early on, he's not going to let him die in this game. He's going to stay alive. And he's going to start a third base at this point. He killed a lot. He's like, well, I guess I can take a third now. I've done what I had to do. He ends up chasing Bomber, and Bomber is really dealing very poorly with all of this. Behind this, he hasn't started 2-2. He's got the Ghost Academy, so he can finally start getting some ghosts, but it really feels like he was not in his comfort zone at this point. So he's like, well, he wants to get back to his comfort zone, which is pulling the SCVs. That's what he does.
Well, there was actually a cancel on 2-2. +2 was almost done right before the attack began. And then Bomber started the armor and then canceled both of them. And I think it was that really triggered him to go, oh my god, I screwed up. I got to pull the SCVs.
SCVs chasing his army is hilarious, by the way. SOS ends up turning around here, trading a little bit, and then Storm is just going to complete right before the huge engagement takes place. And with some good storms, SOS basically is able to secure himself the win in this third game. That's a nice move, by the way, with the Medivac here. Nice attempt by Bomber, but ultimately he had steamed everywhere. His army was split up. It was really a weird fight that we were seeing here, where SOS was trying to buy himself time, and in the end, with this counter-attack over here, I mean, the mining from Bomber was not enough. And I mean, as soon as you hold this is completely over. So, pretty impressive game here by SOS. I did not think he was going to be able to win that one. I know there's a lot of bets going around. If anybody had asked me who was going to win this one, I would definitely have said the Bomber.
Well, moving forward into Game 4, Belcher is going to be the next map. What do you guys think we have in store? I mean, Sean, you've already kind of made the declaration that Bomber's going to take 4 and 5, knowing the maps, and still okay with this.
You know, I definitely actually think that Belcher Vestige is probably going to be Bomber's strongest map in the entire map pool. It definitely favors the 3-base play. Pretty straightforward to defend. The attack angles are not very roundabout. If you can just sweep the edges for pylons, you're good to go. There's not a lot of places to hide stuff and do counterattacks as Protoss. SOS has been pulling out a lot of warp prisms just to do the job of proxy pylons, not even to try to do big warp-ins in the main base. So that could give Bomber some trouble, but I think this is going to be one of the most straightforward games we'll see. Bomber's probably going to be playing pretty identically to what he did on Akalon Waste. Just big Marine Marauder numbers.
Burning question, Apollo. Is it going to be a Stargate for the 4th time?
No, not this time. Not on Belcher Vestige. I'm actually kind of interested. I wonder if we'll see Colossus play.
It will be a Stargate.
Oh.
Yeah.
Into Colossus?
Yeah.
Oh, into
No,
The gauntlet's been
statistically
thrown.
speaking, we're at 100% so far in this best of
That's
5.
don't trust
All
that.
right, you guys, the players are ready to go. Map 4 is nearly upon us. Let's send it back to the caster's desk and get this series back underway.
Thank you so much, Marcus, and welcome back to the desk where we're getting ready to jump into game number 4 between Startail Bomber and Woongjin Stars SOS. Right now, SOS leads 2-1. It is match point for Bomber.
SOS, 1 map away, man, of making it to the global finals.
There's only one person in this entire building who thought that would happen.
There was one person in the world other than SOS who thought so, man. People were making fun of me on Reddit and Team Liquid, also calling me a hipster and stuff. Just ahead of the meta.
The original hipster nerd, Kevin Rotterdam Vanderkoor. We're moving on to Belcher Vestige, Kev. And
He's not there yet. We should never count out Bomber, as he's just such a fantastic Terran player, and you know, just 2 maps. Basically just winning a best of 3 to 0, man, and then Bomber is still in the grand final.
so right you are, Ruddy. Belcher Vestige is the map, and spawning up in the top left-hand corner, the red Terran player from Startail, he is Bomber. A lot of Bomber fans in the house. Bomber's opponent in the bottom right-hand corner, the blue Protoss, leading 2-1, SOS. I want to remind everybody at home that you can watch the first-person point-of-view streams from these players at the Esports Plus stream. That is happening somewhere on the internet. I don't have the URL in front of me, but it's out there, guys, so go check it out.
I actually think when I come home, Ben, I'm going to watch the VODs from that, because I think that'll be super
very cool.
fun and useful. And I want to see how SOS is somehow just able to put his units in the right position all the time when he has no observers. That's not fair.
It doesn't actually make sense.
No. I need 4 observers in general to be safe. SOS makes 0, or sometimes 1.
He just knows, man. He knows when he doesn't see the army that it has to all be in Medivacs, hiding somewhere.
I must say, Ben, what I really will take away from this series is that we saw a lot of cute small moves. Like, for instance, one time when Bomber went for the big drop on Ackland, and he sends the 2 empty Medivacs at first with his 4 medevacs with the bio units inside of it a little behind, saying like, hey, please feed back my first 2 medevacs. I think that's really cool stuff. In the last game, the hallucinated Oracle, you know, pulling away the SCVs, the real Oracle flying in. Even when it's only 3, 4, 5 SCVs on this level, on this stage, with so much on the line, man, if I could ever kill 4 SCVs, I'd take it any day.
Is this a faster gas than what we've been seeing, or is everything still the same? Maybe I'm just crazy, as it does look like Bomber's once more going to be opening up with a Reaper.
You are definitely crazy, man. That's no news to anyone here.
Today, no one learned.
Cybercore being wiped in for SOS, and so far everything is standard. Will most likely just be a Zealot into an expand, or maybe he's going to try to be greedy and skip the Zealot, but since Bomber has already attempted to drop an engineering bay once in his natural, he's definitely going to just go ahead and pull the Zealot. I was also thinking if we're going to see a Stargate or not, and I'm not sure, because I really thought that on Derelict we were not going to see a Stargate, but he did make it, so what do you think, man?
I don't know what to think anymore, Kev. I really don't want to say no Stargate, because even when it hasn't done anything for SOS, the games have been fine. It's never really put him behind. There's the Nexus going down right on time. Still no indication that SOS wants to go one way or the other. Bomber is looking absolutely standard. There's that reactor that we've seen every single game. There's that command center on the low ground showing us supreme confidence from Bomber. Now, he had SOS had one opportunity to walk across the map with a Stalker and a Mothership Core and do some very real damage. I wonder if he might make that adjustment here now that we're on Belcher Vestige.
Yeah, that's true, but the first Stalker is not in production yet, and I think he could have started it a little bit quicker if he wanted to. Also, though, we shouldn't forget that Bomber first sends the SCV and then starts scouting with the Reaper, so he does have a lot of time to identify what he's playing against and still, you know, take the necessary measures, drop the bunker ASAP, make sure that Marines make it over there in time. And we actually see a Sentry first for SOS, so this is definitely a little different, man. He's not going to open up with a Stalker, it's going to be Sentry first.
And that could mean no Stargate, Kev, as that gas is going somewhere new this time. Bomber's gone 3 racks this time, so maybe feeling that he needs to have that extra Marine production out because it has been Oracle every single game.
2 additional gates being wiped in right now. This could be for defensive purposes, but could definitely, you know, go for some aggression as well. Maybe get a proxy pilot out somewhere in the map. We saw Duck doing this against Innovation. It's one of those openings where, you know, I can march across the map with my Mothership Core with only 2-3 units, but if I see you barely have anything, I can warp in 3 additional units, and suddenly it's 5 units and Mothership Core, maybe a time warp going down, because this is the exact same way as Duck opened. But considering the fact that Bomber has opened up with 3 Rexes and not with 2, or even sometimes, you know, you see Terrans go super greedy and go 1 Rex into factory immediately, I don't think that SOS ever wants to think about being aggressive, as he would just play into Bomber's hands.
There's the Robo that Apollo was talking about, so we could be seeing Colossus play on Belcher Vestige. It could also just be for observers and setting up that eventual transition. Oh, the Reaper's got moves like Jagger, hops up into the main base and is going to get a great scout, sees all 3 gates, and even the Robo before going down to Sentry.
Yep, so he spotted the fact that there are 3 sentries, also burning a little bit of energy, which is nice for Bomber to know. He's like, hey, if I want to send my Marines across the map, man, that means that you just wasted 100 energy. That's 2 additional force fields, or that I don't have to worry about anymore. It's just going to be Observer into Templar, by the way, which I'm not very surprised by seeing, unless he's also going to go Colossus at the same time. But I don't think he's going to do that. He will most likely just start researching charge once more, as he is just that type of player. Yeah,
definitely stylistically what he has favored. For as long as we've been talking about SOS, Kev, Observers and Zealots on the way. Twilight Council will finish up, and probably going to be a very early charge. Bomber's out on the map with a lot of bio, Kev. 22 army supply to 13. Whoa, that's an early Warp Prism. A little bit new, a new twist.
Oh, he's going to have to drop Photon Overcharge immediately, as these are a lot of Marines. But this is also a little risky for Bomber. Force fields will go down.
Wow, great force fields, and Bomber's forced to fight. And he will lose more than just a small handful of Marines as he runs away, I guess licking his wounds. That Warp Prism will be out on the map shortly, and that's going to give SOS some strength, some ability to apply some counter pressure.
The Observer that's making his way across the map as well is extremely important for SOS. It's the moment that SOS is going to see, okay, there's no 3rd command center. He's going to see the timing of the factory and above all the starport. Now he just knows, all right, I'm just going to macro up on 2 bases for a little while, because it seems like you are staying on 2 bases for a while. So I don't have to go up to 3 bases at this point, because if it's 2 base against 2 base, but I'm going to have an upgrade advantage, or I'm going to have Storm and Charge, I should be fine for quite a while.
I can't help but feel that this is looking great for SOS. Bomber's going to push forward once more. A scary number of bio units, Kev, but with no medevacs overhead. He's going to stem forward. Is there energy for a photon overcharge? Yes, there is. There it goes after the force field's going down, and once again, Bomber gets pushed back.
Bomber has been losing quite a few Marines here and there. He's never lost his entire army, but still, he's just not getting much done. Yes, he is burning a lot of energy and picking off a few zealots here and there, but SOS is completely okay with that, as long as he's buying time for maybe his first Archons, or at least charge to finish up. And certainly once those 4 additional gates finish, SOS can actually start thinking about putting on some counter-aggression as well with this War Prism. SOS is playing a brilliant game once more.
5 more gates. I think SOS smells blood in the water, Roddy, and I think Bomber will have a very difficult time stopping a huge gateway push from our Protoss player. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 gates total.
Here comes the War Prism. He's going to drop a couple of zealots on top of this middle line. Bomber, his forces are so far out of position. Certainly if SOS decides to warp in a few additional units, but he doesn't even have to.
This is getting really tough for Bomber.
Okay, he's just not really... for a second I thought he was going to send the SCVs across the map. I was like, no, too early.
But he's also not sending any units back home. He's just relying on his reinforcements popping out of the barracks. Bomber's pushing forward as if he wants to make an attack. There's no storm being researched. It's just Zealots and Archons against Marine Marauder Medevac. And good force fields immediately. It's going to be a lot of dead Marines. Hot pickup, but it only gets 3 Marines. The rest have been shredded. This Archon's going to get a lot of kills before he ends up going down. Here's the first-person view of Startail's Bomber, who's frantically trying to deal with this harassment in his main base while attacking on the other end of the map. He's down to 79 supply against about 85 supply of Protoss.
As a 2-base Terran in this phase of the game, you really hope to do more damage than he did, and instead he actually took damage. He lost a lot of mining time, he lost one of his refineries there, which is not a big deal, but that just shows for the fact that this is not the way that this game is supposed to play out in this phase. SOS is up 10 workers, Ben. He doesn't have Storm yet, as far as I know.
No, he hasn't even started Storm.
No. But I mean, he does have that +2 armor on the way. He is going to still have Guardian Shield for the fights. He has Archons. This is going to be very tough for Bomber. Next fight there will be a photon overcharge once more. I really love how SOS is reading these games and be like, as long as I don't need 3 bases, I'm not going to go 3 bases. I'm not going to play into your head. He's really adapting a lot.
Here we go.
How the game is going. Oh my God,
All
Bomber.
comes down to this. Bomber's got a huge army, and the SCVs are going to come join the fight. Photon overcharge has been forced. It should expire by the time the rest of Bomber's troops show up. High Templar are going to get focused down as well. Storm's a long way off. He's not going to have it for the big fight. Bomber's trying to end this game now. If SOS holds, he has advanced to the finals.
Those force fields are fantastic. Once more, photon overcharge is really doing a lot of damage, and as long as this goes on, SOS is going to wipe in more and more and more zealots. He dropped a couple of feedbacks as well on these medevacs. This is looking absolutely fantastic for SOS.
SOS pulls the probes. Zealots and Archons against Marines and Marauders. The SCVs have melted away at 70 supply to 100. The Army supplies favor SOS. Bomber has been beaten back. Good game. Congratulations. SOS moves on to the final.
And for the first time, Ben, SOS is happy as well. He raised his hands. What does this mean?
Finally seeing some emotion out of this very talented Protoss player. An impressive victory as we pass it on over to Marcus at the desk to give us his thoughts.
Thank you, guys. A 3-1. A lot of discussion about that final game up here on the desk. We don't have a whole lot of time before we go to the winners' interview, so let's make our comments quick. Who wants to kick us off?
Real quick, DJ Wheat.
Yes.
It's nice sitting with Todd. We're actually... Well, he's still a pro gamer. I was. Apollo wasn't sure about the ebb and flow of the game. We had to explain it to him. He's like, guys, I'd like to bet money on this because I'm so sure. And we're like, Apollo, you got that caster money. We'll take some of it from you. It's fine.
Great.
Jeff,
your argument, Sean?
The only one thing I agree with you on is that this is better for J-Dong.
Yeah,
you know,
we both agree on
that's
that.
the only one thing.
I mean, I really think that SOS played like a brilliant final game, given the fact that he set up so many Stargate plays back to back to back to back to back. And in that game, it was just a regular gateway opening. And I like that. It can apply pressure if your opponent's being a little greedy. We've seen Bomber be willing to go for a 3 command center after his initial barracks just to try to exploit his opponent's patterns. And there, the ability to transition so quickly back into that Zealot style play, especially with the Warp Prism. I mean, Bomber, he read him like a book. Bomber wanted to win on 2 bases. He wanted to be aggressive.
Final thoughts real quickly?
I really like the incorporation of that Warp Prism at the end of the game. Bomber's been mid-map all series long. He wants to get that aggression. He wants to be at the base of the ramp. 4 Zealots tilted him. He's in that position where he's like, well, do I just come home and suffer that loss, or do I go all in? But with the Photon Overcharge and thankfully enough sentries to do that kind of passive defensive play, he was always going to be able to absorb Bomber and take the advantage, and then he win.
Todd, you predicted SOS. Your thoughts on the series?
I was right.
Crap,
I was right. I get the chance to say it.
So, like, not just score-wise or with the player
I?
I predicted, also with the style that SOS used. I said he was going to use the Charge Lord Templar, and then in the end, in every game he did, and he was quite successful. He made this strategy looks like the most viable, the best that you can do versus Terran right now. So I think if Maru gets to the final, SOS is going to be the favorite.
All right, well, we found our first finalist. It's SOS. Let's shoot it to the main stage with Chobra, who's standing by with an interview with our winner.
Thank you, Marcus. And the first candidate to possibly be the best player of WCS 2013 in StarCraft The Art of the Swarm, it is SOS from Wongjin Stars. Give another big shout out, everyone. So, you know, for a lot of the Korean players, the first year when they really get to go out into the foreign scene, it's new to them. You know, to hear you guys chanting their name, I want to see what SOS has to say about that.
일단 축하드리고요. 저희 이번 블리즈콘 와서 이제 결승전 진출하셨는데 방금 이기시니까 정말 관계에서 모두가 막 SOS 환호하고 그랬는데 느낌이 어떠셨어요?
우선 제가 어제 경기를 다 백스테이지에서 했어요. 근데 이렇게 멋있고 다 열정적인 팬분들 앞에서 경기하고 싶었는데 이대로 떨어지는 거 아닌가 해서 좀 그랬는데 올라가서 좋고요.
SOS says, you know, yesterday I was playing backstage the whole time on the Esports Plus channel. I was really eager to come out and play in front of such a passionate crowd. And today when I entered that booth, I was a little bit scared I might drop off, but I'm so happy I could win in front of all of you. It's love for the StarCraft 2 fans from SOS. Now, we had the casters, Bitterdam, talking about a little bit of the mind games, and that's why I love both of these players, Bomber and SOS. They really like to play with their opponent's minds. We saw that in Game 2 and 3, one from each. I want to see what SOS has to say about that.
저희 이제 두 분 다 어떻게 보면 좀 심리전으로도 강한 선수신데 오늘도 정말 둘째 게임에도 그렇고 셋째 게임에도 서로 막 의료선 먼저 보냈다가 뭐 예언자 먼저 보냈다가 그렇게 심리전 하셨는데 그러면서 뭐 좀 그냥 재밌다 그렇게 생각하셨어요? 아니면 자꾸만 또 그러면 최진 선수 또 뭘 생각하고 있을까 좀 걱정되셨었나요?
우선 상대 선수 플레이보다는 제가 오늘 좀 컨트롤이 좀 안 되더라고요, 생각보다. 그래서 좀 그랬는데 그래도 이겼으니까 좋고 그리고 아까 말 못했는데 백스테이지에서 게임 했잖아요. 그래서 제가 온지 팬분들이 모르셨을 수도 있을 것 같아가지고 저 왔으니까 이제 하나 좀 많이 해달라고.
Before he answered, he was like, hold on, I forgot. The reason I was really scared was because I was only backstage yesterday. I was scared that the fans might have forgotten that I was here at BlizzCon. But now that I'm standing here on stage, I really, wish that you guys would continue to cheer for me the whole time and continue shouting SOS's name. This guy's hungry for you guys. But also talking about the game, SOS says, I was really worried today because my micro just wasn't as good as Bomber. That's what I thought. Bomber had way more control. He had better control of the units of the map, so I was a little bit scared. But again, glad I could win in the end 3-1 against Startail Bomber. Now, there's only one stage left for SOS if he wants to take that champion title of the whole year of 2013. And he might have to face two very strong players. It's either EG Jaedong or it's going to be Maru Prime. Let's see what he has to say and who he would rather face in the finals.
그러면 이제 결승전 상대는 아직 정해지진 않았지만 뭐 이재동 선수 아니면 조성주 선수인데 어느 선수를 더 만나고 싶으세요?
원래는 두 선수 다 상관없었지만 제가 8강, 4강에서 테란을 이기고 올라왔기 때문에 결승에서는 저그전을 해보고 싶어요.
Originally, I didn't really care which one I would have to meet in the finals. However, now that I've beaten a lot of Terrans, I'd love to play against the Zerg in the finals to take that title at BlizzCon 2013. Once again, this is Wongjin Stars SOS, who really wants to hear you guys shout his name back to Marcus.
Thank you, Chobra, and SOS declares who he wants in the finals, and that's Jaedong. Of course, Jaedong versus Maru is coming up next, and we'll talk more about that in just a moment. But your closing remarks, and maybe more so SOS moving on to the finals. What are your final thoughts on this game?
I think the SOS just kind of shows us that, yes, he's still the creative player and the innovative player he used to be. I think he's shown a new style, or at least a new breed of how to play Protoss versus Terran at this tournament. But not only that, he's backed it up by playing incredibly well, incredibly solid, which I think has been maybe a little bit of his flaw come Season 2 and Season 3 this year.
He also just won at least $45,000.
At least, yeah.
And he gets to play a series for $100,000, which, good for him. That's amazing. I liked his comment about saying he was worried that people had forgot about him backstage. He played, I think he played on the secondary stream like a couple times, but
yeah,
he played
Hero and
both
Pole,
games.
both
not on the mainstream. So it's nice to see him come out here. I mean, again, everyone except for Todd, I guess, was like, well, Bomber's the favorite. Bomber should win it. And Bomber has that big fan base with StarTale and the awesome Red Bull backing, and just he's been a big fan. He's got a lot of fans here. But it's cool seeing SOS make a name for himself.
Yep.
Really cool.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to take a quick break in just a second. Of course, coming up next, the second semifinal, Jaedong versus Maru. But first, let's send it back to the main stage and hear from Paul.
Thanks very much, Marcus. We'll check in with the guys for predictions and what have you on our second semi-final very shortly. Don't forget, you can interact with us via #WCS and #BlizzCon. We are down to just 3 players, appropriately enough. 1 Protoss, 1 Terran, 1 Zerg. The semi-finals are next, but I think I might have found my favorite sign in the audience. Top dog!
We've neutralized the Protoss, but there's a wave of Zerg advancing on this position. We need immediate evac.
Belay that order. We're moving out.
What? You're not just gonna leave us?
All ships prepare to move away from Tarsonis on my mark.
Boys, how about that evac?
Damn you, Arcturus. Don't do this.
It's done. Helmsman, signal the fleet and take us out of orbit. Now!
Commander. Jim? What the hell's going on up there?
Hello again, this is Cloakin, the community manager for StarCraft 2, and I want to introduce an exciting new feature called spawning. Have you ever wanted to simply play StarCraft with a friend, but they didn't have the full game? Or maybe you're a Starter Edition user and simply want to find out how you can get more out of the game while playing with your friends. Well, spawning is perfect for you. Those who don't own StarCraft 2 will want to try out Starter Edition. It's a free way to play the game and available to anyone who has a Battle.net account. If you want to take advantage of spawning or you just want to try the game out, simply download and install StarCraft 2 from your Battle.net account management page. If you'd like more details about Starter Edition, feel free to check out this video before continuing on with the one that you're watching now. So let's talk spawning. In short, spawning is an easy way to allow someone with a full copy of StarCraft 2 to share their game with a friend for free. Some of you old-time Blizzard RTS players might remember that back in the heydays of Warcraft 2 and StarCraft 1, we actually did something similar. Back then, as long as you had a copy of the retail game disc, you could bring others in to play with you who had never purchased the game. It was an awesome way to introduce friends to these games and play alongside them. Well, we're excited because today we add to this tradition by bringing this functionality to StarCraft 2, only without the need for all the disk drives. If you currently own a copy of Heart of the Swarm, you can now spawn up any player who is either playing from Starter Edition or Wings of Liberty and give them access to the newest expansion. Pretty sweet. Essentially, the experience is a lot like that of a normal Starter Edition user, but with multiplayer modes and options added in. Here's a quick summary of these additions. All versus AI modes are unlocked, including team games. Spawned players have access to the unranked and ranked ladder play for team games. You also have complete access to all custom game maps. And finally, they have complete access to the arcade. So how exactly does spawning work? Well, that's actually one of the best parts. All of this content is available for free simply by partying up with a friend who owns a full version of the game. Let's take a look. Here you can see the screen of my friend Spirion, who, for the sake of this demonstration, will be playing the part of our Starter Edition user. So at this point, Spirion has downloaded Starter Edition from his Battle.net account, and we're now logged in on StarCraft 2 at the same time. As you can see, Spirion and I are connected as friends over Battle.net, and you can easily do this by using the Add Friend feature in your friends list here. I'm going to go ahead and invite Spirion to party up with me in-game. Here in the party window, you can now see that the UI shows his account level as being raised to that of my Heart of the Swarm account. At this point, Spirion and I can move through the various modes and game options to play in whatever way we like. We can even hop onto the unranked or ranked ladders to use the matchmaker and play against other people on Battle.net. As long as Spirion remains in the party with me, he will be able to play with me at my access level. Then, whenever he decides it's time to leave the party, he will simply return to his Starter Edition access level naturally. There are a few features unavailable to spawned players that are probably helpful to point out. These features include access to the single-player campaign, the full experience of social features like clans and groups, as well as the ability to choose which race you want to play. Just like Starter Edition users, spawned players will only have access to the currently active Starter Edition race, which, at the time this video was recorded, is set to Terran. If you're a spawned player and want the full game, you can use the upgrade button found here. There's no need to download any additional version of the game. Just upgrade your account using Battle.net account management on the web, and then log back into StarCraft 2. That's pretty much spawning in a nutshell. Simple, easy to use, and innately social. Here are a couple of things to keep in mind about this feature. Spawning will also work for people who own Wings of Liberty versions of StarCraft 2. If you would like to share a StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty with a friend, you can spawn him up in the same way we've mentioned in this walkthrough. Only keep in mind that the content and balance will reference the Wings of Liberty version of StarCraft 2. You can spawn multiple friends. Currently, party size is capped at 15 players, which means you can spawn up to 14 other people at one time from your individual purchased copy of the game. Lastly, for Heart of the Swarm players, spawning is a perfect way to take advantage of the recent 25% experience bonus we've added for playing with friends in the expansion. Anytime you play games with a friend that you are connected to via Real ID or Battle Tag, you will receive a 25% increase in experience gained during that game. There is no cap to the amount of experience you can gain this way, so definitely take advantage of it. As you can imagine, we're pretty excited about spawning in StarCraft 2. It is an ideal way to bring your friends along for the ride and show them just how fun StarCraft 2 is. Definitely hop in game, try it out, and let us know what you think. If you want to go ahead and pick up Starter Edition, you can find that easily by clicking the link below. Thanks for watching, and spread the word about spawning. My name is Cloaken, and from all of us here at Blizzard Entertainment, we'll talk to you soon.